out the hand, switch, shooters on swoosh, hitters don't miss. Already just added a ton of y'all to my list. Bitch, death wish, not to be messed with, tested quiz. They shooting shots, hitting bricks, we testing the kids.
Welcome to Deep Thrones, the most entertaining podcast in the world of Ice and Fire. I'm your host, Sims. My co-host Sheedy's here. What's up, Sheeds?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
We're so back.
We're back. We're back in so many ways.
We're back in so many ways. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, obviously the most forward way, but we also it's a new year. We're new people. We're taking on new challenges and crushing all of them, if I should say so myself.
You're killing it right now. You got a lot of irons in the fire, but you're handling them with much aplomb, dude.
Welcome to second daughter. So I'm two times girl dad right now. So that's going. I start work again tomorrow. I was on a short paternity leave. So it's yeah, we just finished up the playoff run. Unfortunately, the Bears got knocked out on Sunday against the Rams. So which we were at, which was an
We were
awesome
at
experience.
we're at the last two games.
We were
Both
at
were
the two
amazing
games. I
experiences.
mean, that Packers game was insane. Never haven't been part of a more electric sporting event than that.
Two of the loud. I mean, the Packers game was insane. The comeback of the ages, and then the Komet touchdown at the end of this Rams game was the loudest I think I've
Man,
ever been in a building. The anthem to start the building, the dude who sings at the Blackhawks games sung, and it was the loudest.
Cornelison.
It was amazing. I mean, what
Yeah.
atmosphere. And you know, it sucks, but sometimes you're just happy that the ride happened at all.
Yeah, I mean, the future's bright. We got a
100%.
young core. We finally got like the coach situation figured out. I like couldn't be more confident in the coaching staff. So, yeah, looking forward to next year.
Teams beg for that. Teams beg for that. You're in
Hmm.
a you're in a you're in a envied position, so
Well,
it better to
apparently the
be there.
Bills don't. The Bills just kicked out their eight-time
Dude,
playoff coach, but I
a
mean,
lot of coaches, coaching carousel is in full swing. We're probably 2 weeks away, or I guess 3 weeks away from the Super Bowl at this point, which means then it's just free agency frenzy. See, this is what the other sports don't realize. The NFL controls the entire calendar. They got
oh yeah.
the offseason is like exciting for the fan. Like it's crazy.
They've got it down to a science and helps helps keep the year entertaining for us.
Definitely. And to
But
do a
speaking
quick,
of which, oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, to speak of along the lines of people who do great, like the NFL, people who do a little
Hmm.
bit better, usually HBO,
Hmm.
specifically with its Game of Thrones content, its Westeros content.
And we
But
just kicked off a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We've got House of the Dragon coming back, but there's a little bit of trouble in paradise, right?
oh yeah, so this is great. George R. R. Martin just did an interview, just absolutely dogging House of the Dragons showrunner Ryan Condal, a guy who we loved season one, and all the fans did too. Like the genuine fans of Westeros and the lore viewed season one as really a triumphant display of this show and of this story. George has since thrown the gauntlet, and keep in mind, he never said a word about Dave and Dan in Game of Thrones, not one. Even after the debacle of season eight, never once threw
Hmm.
those dudes any kind of shade. Here he is coming out saying his working relationship with Ryan Condal is abysmal. He said that he gave tips for season two and season three that were ignored. That he chose Ryan. I guess there was a power struggle between Ryan and Sapochnik, and that's why Sapochnik bounced. That's what came out later on. And basically, that he kind of gave Ryan the IP to this to continue it. And this is the hardest part of all. And the thing that, guys, this summer, you're going to have to tune into Deep Thrones because George said about the meetings they had going into writing of season three, this is no longer my story. Crazy.
That's extremely disappointing. Obviously, don't want to, blow the alarm or sound the alarm too soon, but
No.
the people who listen to this podcast know how we felt about season two, and to hear that George is basically throwing up his hands and saying he's not a part of this anymore for season three is that's that's highly concerning to say the least.
Very concerning. I mean, I guess the one positive is hopefully all of these shows annoy George enough to where it's like, fine, I'll write the book. Like, I'll get back to
Well,
it.
this one, Night of the Seven Kingdoms seems like they're sticking to the script pretty well, or sticking to the novellas pretty well. So we'll talk about that more in a second here. But I did want to live up to a promise that we made kind of with the last couple episodes. we're back with Sims Wine Club,
I love it.
episode 3 of Sims Wine Club. So today I've got a Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley in the Pacific Northwest. It's called Ben Mar. Um, I mean, I've already, as you can tell, I've already kind of dove into this, but we're gonna give a live review right now.
Yeah. For those of you not watching the YouTube version, I'm pretty sure it looks like olive oil.
All right, cheers.
Cheers, Chris. All right, he's tasting it now. For those of you listening on Spotify, he's aerating it. He's kind of smacking the lips a little bit just to get the
I
flavors.
mean, that is just divine.
Is it
That
good? Is it
is,
really good?
oh man, it's nice. It's a, crisp, fruity flavor on the top, but it's a nice, dry, light finish.
Oh, it's like a mullet. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very up my alley. I'm a light, you know, acidic type of wine guy. So,
beautiful. You
I
get
mean,
those
I would,
grapes.
out of 5 grapes, I'd probably give this one a 4.5 grapes.
That'll be the rating scale for this. I love that. Four and a half
It's
grapes.
four
And
and a half
so
grapes.
shout out to the Pacific Northwest. It's get those winds from Canada and off the Pacific there. It mixes all the soil probably or something.
That that's yeah, that sounds about right. There's pictures of redwood trees on the front. This is bona fide legit. 4.5 grapes. Would drink again.
You heard it here from honestly, we're known for our Westeros knowledge, but we're actually really sommeliers. So it's really
Honestly, how funny would it be if our podcast became more known for
wine.
the
Yeah,
wine
it's
ratings?
completely drops Westeros and we're in Napa. Like
Let's go. Let's
we're
go.
here now.
Oh, yeah.
Should we do it? Should we do what we
Yeah,
came to
I'm
do?
excited to get into this because I enjoyed this. So
Yeah, me too.
take us through this episode, and I'll
Okay.
add in some color commentary.
Let's do it. So we start. Dunk is digging a ditch and burying Sir Arlen of Pennytree, who is this is the first time we're seeing Dunk, and Arlen is kind of the guy who raised him. He's like an orphan, right?
Yeah, so Dunk, as we find out later in the episode, was born in King's Landing and Flea Bottom. He was orphaned. I think in the preview to the next episode, they were kind of showing some flashbacks, but in this episode, they showed some flashbacks when he's like, "Yeah, you never really beat me except for when I deserved it," and he was just getting smacked up left and right.
All the time. Well, the best is there's like a huge fire, and you just hear Dunk go "fuck," and then the guy spins him around and just punches him. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was
Um,
straight abuse.
yeah, not a great relationship, but Dunk did look up to this man like a father, and he said, "I wish you didn't die, sir." And he talks to his horse for a little bit. What can we do? What can I do? Who can I be? Like, I'd have to be a beggar or a sellsword. Um,
And before this episode came out, one concern that we had, because we assumed that they were going to stick to the books, right? But in books, you have like internal dialogue that's easy to write out.
yes.
And we were kind of like, well, how are they going to convey those thoughts on screen? And I thought they did a good job with him, communicating to the horse.
Agreed 100%. It was a great move. And then they sort of give us this tease where he goes, "Well, there is a tourney at Ashford Meadow," and the music starts, baby. The Game of Thrones music hits, and then it cuts to Dunk having explosive diarrhea. A scene that went on a bit too long, probably. This scene has become the most controversial. I texted Chris earlier, the most controversial scene in Westeros since Stannis burned Shireen. People on
Legit.
Reddit are debating it. Some people love that it's undercutting, like, listen, this isn't Game of Thrones.
I thought it was funny, but I I get what they were going for. I think they could have done it better, but like if you're gonna set the tone, I guess set it early, come out strong. It didn't
Yeah.
affect what I thought about the episode overall.
No, same. And it's most of the people, even the ones who didn't like it, agree. You could have just had him do that, like I could be at the tourney, and then just do a quick cut instead of him diarrheaing all over, like having like bawling in his hands, like crying so hard that like I can't do it. Like that would be a cuter way to do it. But this is Westeros, man. We're down in the dirt, so I'll
We're
take it.
we're we're getting nasty. The angle of the poop too was a little gratuitous, I think.
I
I think
agree.
he
No
could have
one
gotten the
does
point
that.
across, but
No one
yeah.
does that. No one does it the way the show did it. Dunk then goes to an inn. He meets a stable boy. The stable boy's adorable. Dunk is constantly threatening him with a clout in the ear. And he's like, you'll tend to my horses. He goes inside. He sits at the inn, gets a little supper. And this guy is like, I saw you in my dreams. He's clearly drunk. And I found out after the episode that's Darren the drunk, Darren the Targaryen.
Yeah, yeah. So big character reveal coming up, so spoiler alert, but if you're observant and you see the light hair and you see that he's wearing, like a ruby red
Oh
outfit,
shoot, should I edit
uh
this? Is it not supposed to be
no.
known that he's Darren?
Well, I mean, you could probably infer if you're paying
He's in
attention,
the
you probably
Targaryen. Yeah,
inferred.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Um, but yeah, so that's going to be important coming up. So we'll talk about that more later on, but huge scene. Love to see it played out just like it was in the books.
Definitely. And Dunk heads over to the stables. He sees the young kid who took his gear for him is playing around with it. He's pissed. Again, threatens to give him a clout in the ear. He says that a ton about clouting him in the ear. Learned from Sir Arlen, obviously.
Right.
And the kid wants a squire for him. He says, "You need a squire. You look like shit." And Dunk's like, "I don't need a squire." And I'm going to Ashford for Meadow, and that's the end of it.
Love Egg and love that casting. The kids hitting the nail on the head. So yeah,
Yeah.
excited to see where that goes from here. And once we get into the segments, he'll be showing up a lot on my end for sure.
Definitely, definitely. He makes it to Ashford, and the first thing Dunk does, he goes and speaks to the Master of Games, who is kind of a jerk, a weird
Yeah, he's a real
fellow.
piece of work.
Yeah, and the gist of this scene is that he kind of teases Dunk about what happens about lying about being a knight, but Dunk has no proof that Sir Arlen ever knighted him, and actually we as viewers have no proof that Sir Arlen ever knighted him, if he was ever knighted. But a knight can make another knight. There's just no witnesses to it. But Dunk, apparently there is a guy at the lists who potentially will have some sort of knowledge to this. So Dunk has to go find him to prove he's a knight so that he can enter the games.
Yes, yeah. So it was a lord that Sir Arlen and Dunk had served under. I believe it was Lord Dundarian, and we'll see if he remembers him. But he
Yeah.
goes on this journey to try to find him.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that scene too. Dunk goes looking for him, and there he sees Sir Stephen Fossaway beaten up on his I think he said cousin Sir Raymond Fossaway, just kicking the shit out of him. Raymond is Stephen's squire, so Stephen is like the knight. Raymond Fossaway is his squire, the younger apple on the tree, and he's just getting worked
Hmm.
by Stephen.
And they're from two different branches, if you will, of the Fossaways. So, they're like you said, they're cousins. So there ends up by the time we get to Game of Thrones times, you have two different Fossaway branches, and we'll get to see kind of the origin story of that in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that because I've heard a lot about the Fossaways. They're big in the Game of Thrones books too. They like never
Hmm.
are in the show though.
Hmm.
Dunk goes and takes a bath because he has to because he has like flies following him everywhere. And then he
Nasty.
speaks. He's a nasty guy. All right, he sleeps under a tree. That's the whole point.
Hmm.
And then he speaks to two ladies who work for the knight he needs to prove his knighthood from, and he's like inside sleeping because I think the two ladies are there to kind of like I think they're ladies of the night who are working with this man, and he's worn out, so he's back in the tent in his pavilion sleeping.
Yeah, they kind of gave like Madame vibes where they're,
They're
controlling the
they're
other
cool.
prostitutes or ladies of the night or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, they're actually a great casting. I enjoyed the conversations that Dunk had with them throughout this episode.
Agreed. I thought they were awesome. Those two are great
Mhm.
characters. He goes to a puppet show. There's a lot of cool things going on. Like the tourney's clearly still just being set up, but there's a lot of cool things happening. He sees this really awesome puppet show with a dragon. Obviously, dragons are no longer alive in the world at this point, so it's sort of a throwback of history for them. The girl who's running the puppet show is a tall drink of water, and he's smitten
Mhm.
from a distance.
Very, very smitten. You can tell from the beginning. It is cool to see how much a town comes to life during these tourneys. Like obviously, you know, you think of like villages and Ashford Meadow. It's not like a King's Landing or Lannisport or anything like that. However, when it's throwing a massive tournament, you've got lords and ladies coming in and all the followers coming in and the puppet shows and everything. So it does come to life. And seeing the massive dragon that was like the coolest puppet I've ever seen blowing fire
Yeah,
was
what kind of
freaking
puppet is
awesome.
that?
It's a I mean, I guess you gotta kind of if you're gonna portray a dragon when there's Targaryens lurking around, it's gotta be a pretty cool looking dragon.
That's actually a really good point. You got to do respect to it, or else you're going to be on the wrong side of Targaryens. And you don't
Hmm.
want to be on the wrong side of Targaryens, all right?
Definitely don't.
Raymond Fossaway and Dunk just have a quick chat, and Raymond's like, "Listen, you want to hang out with some cool people? Check this out." And he brings him into the Baratheon Pavilion, where the I think the current we believe, at least in the show and the books, it might be a little different. The current Lord of Storm's End, Lionel Baratheon, is hosting a bunch of people, and he's a riot.
That was like a medieval rave. They were just having a grand
Yo,
old time in there.
yo, dude, zero gravity. Lionel
Oh my
Baratheon,
gosh,
zero.
just getting
You're right.
after
It
it.
was like,
They
but
needed they
medieval.
needed levels by Avicii.
Oh, could you imagine? But with like spoons and like thimbles and all the stuff that they played back then.
We
It
just gotta we should I don't know if we're allowed to do this with IP rights, but we should just have that same scene playing the dance scene and just
with
have
levels.
Avicii levels playing over it.
It's great. I mean,
Go
Lionel gives
viral.
this hilarious speech about how, like, who invented jousting? Like, we come together to do this, to these night games. And then at one point he goes, oh, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. And then he kind of gives Dunk some shit 'cause he's like, who are you? All these guys are lords who've paid tribute to me. You're either here for my head or you're here because you want something. And then he just kind of like likes Dunk. They dance at each other and step on each other's feet hard. Like they're doing like a stomp on each other's
Yeah,
foot game. And
yeah.
Dunk goes hard at Lionel and then is nervous because he could lose his head. And then Lionel has a big smile like you're a dog. And then it cuts to them drunk and Dunk is wearing Lionel's antler crown because they're just boys
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
We've all been there where you're drinking with a group you've never met before. And out of nowhere, someone's just like, this guy's a riot. So then Dunk finally sees the knight, and the knight's like, "Listen, dude, I'm not gonna do it. What's in it for me? I don't remember you." He's like, "But Sir Arlen, who was the guy who knighted me, like he didn't die, but he took an arrow in you and your father's service." He's like, "You know how many guys took arrows going into the marches? I think it was in the
Yeah.
Dornish marches."
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So House Dondarrion's situated right on the reach side of the Dornish marches. So they're pretty much, AKA the Lords of the Marches, and the Dornishmen and the Reach and Stormlanders are always fighting consistently. So Dondarrion, it's no surprise that he's been hiring hundreds and hundreds of sellswords and hedge knights and things like that to be
Yeah.
able to consistently fight the Dornishmen. So he's not going to remember Sir Arlen of Pennantry, the hedge knight who took a crossbow bolt.
Zero chance. Yeah. The Dunk sort of defeatedly goes back to where he set up his camp, which is just under a tree outside of the tourney, kind of off the beaten path. And there is the stable boy, the young boy who he asks his name. It's Egg. He's set everything up. He calls himself Egg. He's got a bald head, looks like an egg. Um, and the kid said, "Let me just be your squire." And Dunk kind of is like, "All right, you can be my squire." He's like, "I should take you back to your mother." And he's like, "My mother's dead." And he's like, "The lady at the inn wasn't your mom?" He's like, "No, I'm an orphan." And he's like, "Well, then I should take you home." And he's like, "Well, it'd be a long way. It's at King's Landing." And he's like, "Oh, you're from Flea Bottom?" And he's like, the kid just kind of like, and he's just like, "Well, I don't want to miss the tourney, so you can squire for me."
Yeah, and Egg is very careful with his words. Like you'll notice that Dunk was the one who assumed that he was an orphan because the innkeeper wasn't the
Yeah,
mother. And he also never clarified, where in King's Landing he was from, even
he's
though
an
he did say
intelligent
it
kid.
wasn't Flea Bottom, right? So he's been a little shady intentionally, but he does have skills that, like I guess, live up to those of a squire. He was talking about raising the pavilion, but then kind of dunked on Dunk, saying, I couldn't find one that you
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
He talked about, I mean, he was cooking a fish. He was talking about cleaning the horses and things like that. So um, there are some skills that also are beneficial for Dunk. So I don't feel like it's all charitable on his end. He's kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of proven his worth too.
Exactly. And it also gives him a little bit more validity, I guess, to have a squire. He's
It's a
trying
good
to
point.
like match up with these other knights. Um, so yeah, but the casting is great. They see the shooting star, they call it a falling star in Westeros. And the kid says seeing a falling star is good luck, they say. All those other guys are looking up at their silk as they sleep in the pavilions, and here we are outside. And Dunk, of course, I think threatens a clout in the ear and says, "Go to bed." And the kid turns over, and then Dunk thinks about it and he goes, "So the luck is ours alone." And then that's how it ends. It was
Mhm.
great. I thought it was very cute.
Yeah, great ending. The preview for the next episode got me really hyped up. It looked like they did a preview for like the whole rest of the season, which
They
was
did.
interesting.
It was a look ahead
Yeah.
at like the season, but that was episode one, the Hedge night. The look ahead to the season, there's a lot happening,
Oh
which
yeah.
is crazy because there's five more episodes and they're all like 30 to 35 minutes.
Mhm.
And it goes to show you that characters matter. Just developing these guys. I think we're really going to enjoy the journey. I think this show will appeal to Game of Thrones fans. I don't know if it'll have that broad reach to like
Right.
the outskirts, but it kind of doesn't need to. HBO needed to reaffirm its love for the IP for the fans, in my opinion.
And it's refreshing this way too, to get it to
100%.
get a different look at it. But with that being said, what do you rate this episode?
I gave it an 8.1.
Wow, okay.
I
Okay,
liked it.
that's
I really liked
strong.
the episode. I thought it started off really strong. I wavered a little bit on some things. I'll have to rewatch it in a few days, and it could easily drop or go higher. I just really, I thought that Dunk was such a genuine person, and I liked the character. It's rare in Westeros where it's just a person. He says to the ladies at one point, "Must you mock me?" Which like you don't
Yeah.
even see that in Westeros. It's always just people giving shit. It's never a person
Mhm.
being like, "Leave me alone." You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
for a guy
Yeah.
who's been kind of a dork his whole life, it's nice to see
Yeah.
someone just kind of be like, just relax, chill.
Yeah. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I loved how it stuck with how the novellas actually went, but it is an opening episode, right? And it's building up to more stuff. So I thought 7 out of 10 was appropriate, but for all the same reasons that you said, love the castings, love the character development just throughout one episode. I thought that they gave the backstory and the internal dialogue basically good ways to come to the forefront and not just seem forced, in my opinion. So thoroughly enjoyed it. 7 out of 10. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes.
Same, same. I couldn't agree more. Brings us to our next segment, best line, Yas Queen. Chris, what was your best line and your Yas Queen?
My best line from that episode, you talked about it. It was when they were Dunk and Egg were laying down and they saw the falling star, and when he says, "So the luck is ours alone," I thought, well, I don't think I know that that's a pretty cool loaded statement that's gonna
Yeah.
play out throughout the rest of the series.
No, I love that. That's great. And then your Yas Queen.
My Yas Queen was you also mentioned it when Dunk to mock me to the two prostitutes and they're just kind of like, yeah, you're right, sorry. Didn't mean to.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
My
What was your best line?
My best line is when Dunk says to the horses, "There's a tourney at Ashford Meadow," because
Mm,
it sets up everything.
hmm
And my Yas Queen was when Dunk is like explaining to Egg that he's a proper knight, and Egg goes, "Your belt's made of rope," because it's just like you're not really a proper knight, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So just a little bit of a dig there.
And then
Uh,
Egg also in that I think in that same conversation was like, you look like you need a squire more than most.
yeah, just absolutely throwing the
Give him some
gauntlet at him.
sass. Oh yeah.
And then that brings us to hottest moment. Chris, what was
Hottest
your
moment.
hottest moment?
My hottest moment was when Dunk met Egg in the
Oh,
stables at the in-house.
that's great.
Yeah,
Mine was,
loved the casting and just like Egg's snarkiness gets me excited.
yeah, Egg, he's an intelligent kid. Like you said, he
Hmm
he like knows to play the game a little bit and to pick his words carefully.
hmm
My hottest moment was Lionel Baratheon dancing with Dunk. Just boys getting after it, sweating buckets. It was
I
awesome.
will say when I was watching, and I haven't rewatched the episode yet because obviously playoff football and stuff was on, but it didn't it seem like there's maybe a little bit of an erotic kind of hint
I
to
thought,
them.
like when he looked up at him after he stepped on his foot, I was like, "Oh, are they gonna like?" I thought he might have like tried to
Yeah,
kiss him, which
yeah,
like,
for
oh,
sure.
we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Let's
You look into those
see.
soulful eyes of Lionel Baratheon. He's wearing that antler thing. It's a cool hat. He's a cool dude. I'm looking forward to seeing how that character continues on in the story. At least through the perspective of Dunk, because it seems like we will be following Dunk as a singular force throughout the show.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see. I mean, he seems very boisterous, but I'm pumped to see him in combat, you
All right,
know?
Same, same. Yeah, who's going to win the tourney? That's another thing I forgot to mention is that if you lose in these tourneys, you have to give all your shit to the winner and then ransom it back, which I didn't even
Yeah.
know. That adds an element because Dunk is poor as hell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you essentially that's how they make their money, right? If you don't win the whole purse, then you just best, you get the ransom from whoever you best, and it's worth going to the tourney.
That's crazy. We did our this was our first ever, and another vote will be Wednesday. Westeros History Minute fan vote, and the fans voted. Chris, what is a hedge night?
I'm so glad you asked me that, fans and John. A hedge night is simply a night with no lands or lord. So remember the two qualifications to be a knight in Westeros, and even I'm gonna nerd out a bit here, but like when you're looking at like French chivalry or English chivalry from back in the medieval times, you really just had to have a horse and you had to be knighted by someone who was qualified to knight you. So in Dunk's case, he was knighted allegedly by Sir Arlen of Penetry, and we saw that he has, his war horse Thunder, and then two kind of riding and packing horses as well. So those are the qualifications that he hits. Now, with Hedge Knights, you've got kind of a mixed bag because you're extremely close to being just a sellsword, right? And so, we've all watched Game of Thrones and we see, from back in the days with Lord Beric Dondarrion, and then like all the pillaging in the countryside and the Riverlands and things like that. These people can be like real nasty pieces of work, or they can
Yeah.
be, just people like Dunk who are roaming around looking for service or going from tourney to tourney, trying to make an honest living. So there's a wide range, but there is a negative connotation, and we see some of that with the Lord of the Games, who's not letting him in because they don't want to upset people. So um, we're starting off hot. My Westeros history minute, I'm sure, was probably like 3 minutes.
Doesn't That doesn't
This is
matter.
on brand.
That was great
Yeah.
insight. Bringing it back to the real aspects of it from history, and that was great. I think that answers everyone's question, and that is the point of this segment.
And I love the fan voting aspect that we added to this because
Me too.
that just makes it interactive and gives us some fresh ideas.
I agree. I agree. We're always ideating here on great ideas.
That's it.
Um,
Noodling.
Next segment, you blew it. I'm gonna lead this one off. Raymond Fossaway, you can't let your cousin beat you up like that in front of people. You got to put up a better fight. I know he is, I guess, next in line to he's the heir to I don't even know what the Fossaway Castle, the apple tree, but you blew it. So,
Yeah, that's tough.
so you blew it.
You blew it. I love you, buddy, but
I love you, buddy, but you blew it. What, Chris,
um,
what is yours?
Maya blew it is the diarrhea blowing out of Dunk's ass. So he
Yeah,
he
that's good.
literally blew it out of his ass at the top of the episode. So Dunk,
You blew it.
That's just true.
we love you, buddy, but you blew it out of your
You
out of your
blew it.
bum bum.
And I do think I'm gonna love Dunk. Early on, I'm into him, but we got to get there. It's gonna be a process. He's got to earn it. We can't give it too early. I mean, I did give an 8.1. That's too high for one episode.
You're going off the vibes. You got to ride the
It's true. I
vibes.
loved it, but I don't want to be that guy. But you're right. You're right. You'll
Yeah,
bring me
you
back
ride the
down to earth.
vibe. But
Final segment,
yeah, final segment, fan favorite,
trial
trial
by
by
combat.
combat.
All
And
right.
we'll
So
just give a quick reminder off the top. So, Trial by Combat is a segment where our very own John Sheedy comes up with an awesome idea, original creation,
yeah,
and the idea is that it's a pass or fail for me, who he either wins the trial by combat or unfortunately he croaks and dies.
it's almost like a medieval version of like he's a producer and I'm a script writer who's like, listen, I got this idea for a movie or a show, and the producer is like, yeah, we'll make that movie or no. But there's the trial by combat aspect. So if it's a no, I guess I could die hypothetically.
What was the P. Diddy show where he like was like a producer and like artists were trying to, you know, become famous, and they would like run and get him coffee and donuts and shit at like
Oh
4 in
my
the
God.
morning.
It was like his take on The Apprentice.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it
what
was
we're
on
doing.
VH1. Yeah, it was I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was called, but I do remember now that I literally just had a flashback to like were we in high school when that show was on?
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
100%.
You were like you watch I Love New York and then Rock of Love and it leads right into the P. Diddy assistant show. And he's like, go
Dude,
get me a coffee
I'm
and
so
shit. Yeah.
in the Deep Tones version, I'm P. Diddy and you're
Yes.
the young boys trying to
I am the yeah, I'm trying to be your assistant, which years
Yeah.
later those guys have to be like, "Whoa." Um so here is my drop. So every Game of Thrones content creator out there, and we of course are the most significant of them all, has done their take on what a sequel to Game of Thrones should have looked like. So I know you guys expect laughs from me, but I'm gonna get into it because this is my sequel to Game of Thrones.
Let's go.
A Game of Thrones sequel by John Sheedy. So, all right, so Jon Snow is north of the Wall at this point with the Night's Watch. Some time has passed since the end of Thrones, and the Watch is restless. Like, they don't do anything. What's the point? They're rebuilding the wall where the Night King knocked it down just out of like some weird historical value to them, but it means nothing. The Watch means nothing. There's restlessness in the in the six kingdoms and in the north because the peasants don't trust the fact that the king is all seeing and all knowing. They think that's not cool because word gets out about his abilities. Um,
Hmm.
Dorne and the Iron Islands also are like, wait a second. The North just can ask to be its own kingdom. Guess what? You know, which also is like we might do that as well. Um, so, anyways, John is bored with the Watch. They're restless, and he says, "Listen, the Walker threat was really the only reason we even existed, and they were from, at least we think, way up northwest in the land of always winter. So let's just go up there and see what's up, right?" So John leads the North up there, I'm sorry, the Night's Watch up there, and they take a couple breaks along the way, and he sleeps up against a weirwood tree. And John has the same exact dream that Daenerys has: a white dust falling over King's Landing. Is it snow or is it ash? John then goes to the land of always winter, right? And he finds that temple where the Night King in the one episode in Game of Thrones was changing kids into walkers, you know, the
Oh
Craster's
yeah.
kids that he would
Yep.
take. And John finds all of these tightly packed bricks of this white powder. And John uses his long claw and he like cuts into it and he like licks it off long claw like in the movies and he's like, "Whoa, this is pure." And then the Night's Watch becomes the single biggest they become drug runners throughout the Seven Kingdoms and all the lords of like the each area is trying to catch Jon Snow and his Night's Watchmen. And Jon Snow is like super cool now. He like wears sunglasses. He's like slicking his hair back. Um, and so that white powder he saw was neither snow nor ash. It was this amazing product he had found north of the wall that he's now selling and making a killing on for the Night's Watch in my Narcos meets Westeros show that I am calling Jon Snow.
Hell yeah. I
Apostrophe S because he's now a guy. He's a drug dealer.
just inject that show into my veins. Take all
Jon,
my money.
Jon Snow as a drug
Jon
dealer. Can you
Snow.
imagine that?
I'm
There's like
so in.
HBO's
I
like, wait, you're doing what now? Like, why did the White Walkers have that?
I've
Oh,
never been more in on a show. As a matter of fact, the Night's Watch being a cartel, it kind of adds up, right? Like to your point, if the Night King's dead, what other benefit are they giving to this, six
imagine
kingdoms?
the amount of money laundering they could do because they're like, oh, hey, Seven Kingdoms, the Shadow Tower is in really rough shape. We're gonna need a bunch of money. You know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that passes the trial by combat for sure.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine? It's funny because I came up with the idea. I actually really had writer's block. I was like, should I just tell? Because I have an actual Game of Thrones sequel idea, like most idiots do. And I was like, I don't want to do that. No one cares. And then I was literally watching with my mom, like scanning Netflix, and I passed Narcos, which is a great show. And I was like, oh, okay, I could combine those two, but how will I do it? And then I was like, and then the Daenerys dream, I was like, oh, that'd be funny if it's just Jon Snow. So
Jon
that
Snow,
was where
yeah,
the idea came from.
Johnny Montana
Dude,
slinging rocks.
it would be the coolest version of Jon Snow ever, as opposed to punky teenage angst Jon Snow.
Oh man, yeah, that passes the combat check for sure.
I live
There
to
you
see another
go.
week.
There you go. You're
Um,
alive. But no, strong start to Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Excited for what's to come, and it is crazy that it is only 5 or so episodes, right? Like we're starting this, and then we're gonna pause before House of the Dragon comes back. But we've got a packed year. It's exciting.
Yeah, and if you want to win Fan of the Year, like, share, subscribe. More details about that over the summer for the House of the Dragon, because that's really when it will ramp up. But your name will be announced during this year's Thronies if you win. So, and what's
Yeah,
more honorable than that, Chris?
exactly. I mean, fan of the year. That's even better than a Nobel Peace Prize at this
Yeah,
point.
it's what people say. That's what people say, and I'm good. How about yourself, sir?
I'm all good.
Sir Lionel, hit me up. You can step on my foot any day.
Whips, check out the hand switch. Shooters on swoosh, hitters don't miss. Already just added a ton of y'all to my list. Bitch, death wish, not to be messed with, tested.